What is up, everyone? I am not Dean 78904 if you want to get all technical on me. He is really fudging up. Internet went down right before we were about to get on. Absolutely classic Dean scenario. So yeah, he's not here. I am alone. This is going to be weird. I don't like being alone. What do I do with my hands? But in any case, we got Grinderslive here. We got NBA. We got MLB coming up later. So don't worry about that if that's what you're looking for, because we got MLB later, NBA right now. Things happening. Going to be going through all today's slate. We got SBK coming on in a few minutes because guess what? Dean is super late because he don't know how to use the internet. But we got a nice little 6, 7, 5, 4. I don't know how many games have been postponed, but 7-game NBA slate here. Not a ton of injuries. was a lot more of an interesting slate with Brooklyn being on the slate. But obviously, that game is postponed. So all we got to talk about is 8 different NBA games here. Not a ton of injuries that we're really watching out for, but this is basketball. This is the NBA, and they are going to try and screw us over at some point because they do that every single day. Hopefully, it comes out during the show. If not, don't worry. We got crunch time later today. We got Meansy and Cheese breaking down both MLB and NBA later on in the day, so don't worry. You can stay in tune for that. Right after this show, we got MLB with Stevie and Cardi, but right now, it's just me trying to just buy time until SPK gets here. But I guess I can pretty much just give us a little bit of an overview of the slate, the biggest news on it. I'm not going to sit here and read every single body part because that's not a good way to do things. I don't like how Dean does that. But we got basically Clarkson and Conley out for Utah. Clarkson is doubtful. Conley is out. So the biggest decision of this slate is, are you going to play Mitchell? Are you going to play Ingles? Are you going to use the salary saver with Georgies? Are you going to go with Bogdanovich? Are you going to use Gobert? What Utah players are going to use? And it's just a spot where Washington, is the fastest paced team in the NBA. And without Conley, without Clarkson, Ingles is going to be running a little bit of the point. Mitchell is going to be running a little bit of the point. Ingles goes into the starting lineup, going to get a boatload of minutes. And we know when he shoots, when he gets hot, he can absolutely crush. And in a fast paced game, he can do a ton of work. So the biggest question on the slate is what Utah players you're going to end up playing. So we'll get a little bit of SPK's process on that when he comes into there. And guys, don't worry. If you have any questions, you can drop it into chat and we'll get through them to him throughout the show. Just whenever you got it, go through in there. Our wonderful producer, Devin, who is trying to still deal with Dean, I'm sure, we'll get him, write him down, and throw him in for later when he hops on the show to ask questions. FanDuel or DraftKings, make sure to specify which one you want us to answer for, because obviously very different between sites, obviously very different between cash and tournaments. But for right now, biggest question, what Utah players we're going to end up using. And I think Will is going to hop in, and I think SPK is here. SPK, how you doing over there, buddy?
What's going on, boys? How we doing?
Oh, not too bad. Obviously better than Dean, because guess what? Dean ain't here. But we don't have a whole lot of injury news on this slate. SPK, what you got for us?
Well, hold on a second. So Dean got a Top Shot pack, right? Is he just not on the stream because he's like dealing with that?
No, his internet literally went down right before the game, right before we went live. And now we may have someone to replace him, someone who I like better than Dean by a wide margin. But we'll get to that in a second when things are ready. You can let me know, Devin, whenever the replacement is here. But SPK, what are we looking at in this slate? What are we watching out for?
So one big thing that dropped today is Kristaps Porzingis. Well, I guess first I'll obviously get to the Minnesota-Brooklyn. I'm assuming everybody kind of knows the situation there, but don't roster anybody from that game. It's not happening. For games that are happening, Kristaps Porzingis is now listed as questionable. It's a back-to-back for them. It does seem like they're going to get Maxi Kleber back. He's probable, but there's a chance Porzingis doesn't go. Obviously, that's a small bump in usage for Luka. We see potentially some Boban, maybe as a starter, more Dwight Powell, more Willie Cauley-Stein, Dorian Finney-Smith would get a small bump. So that's, I think, probably the biggest situation out there right now. Jamal Murray, questionable. He's missed 4 straight, so we kind of have a blueprint for what that's going to look like. Campazzo starting, Morris in like 18 to 20 minutes off the bench. Kyle Kuzma, also with a questionable tag today. Would be a nice bump for THT, who played a ton of minutes the other night, just didn't really knock any shots down. Obviously was benefited a bit by the Schroeder ejection. But yeah, so Kuzma, a big question mark. And he's obviously kind of has taken somewhat of a dive anyway with Drummond being like obviously more involved offensively than Gasol was. Certainly in the rebounding department, it's not helping Kuzma. And then, Chuma Okeke, the other one, other big one on the Orlando side. If he doesn't go, they really just have nothing in the front court, especially at the 4. We'd see more James Ennis there. Mo Bamba actually played pretty well the other night or last night, but he's pretty much just playing that center spot. Him and Wendell Carter splitting time there. Those are the big situations right now. Really not anything else in terms of people that are still questionable.
Yeah, man, that sounds about right. I think we got Will on here. Will, Devin, can we hear Will? Will, can you hear me? Oh, you took your headphones out. Will, can you hear me? Nope. What about now? Can you hear me now? Excitement is killing me. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, yeah, the big news. So without Porzingis in there, like pretty much my kind of analysis of it is it's just kind of a big bump to everyone. It doesn't really affect Luka. Luka's going to get shots regardless. The game has a little bit more of a chance of being a blowout, but essentially uptick to everyone and everyone's minutes, everyone else's usage because it just kind of creates a hole in there. Kuzma, you're right. THT potentially gets a starting nod again, guy that produces a point per minute basis, and everyone else kind of gets a big bump up here. I'm just trying to buy some times. Yeah, so you could see Ennis start at the 4. You think there's any chance, like I'm just trying to think, any chance that they, with how little they have on the front court, they end up rolling out Carter and Bamba at the same time just because?
So actually, yesterday, I mean, they were the Okiki site yesterday, and I actually had projected a little bit of overlap between those two. They didn't end up doing it. I don't have any overlap projected for it today, but that's also with Okiki projected for, basically a normal allotment of minutes. So it wouldn't be shocking. I mean, kind of, I think would depend a little bit on the San Antonio lineups. But yeah, I mean, they seem kind of content with having Ennis at the 4 and just kind of playing a little bit smaller. Maybe Dwayne Bacon gets some more minutes as a small forward. And they just end up kind of playing smaller with guys like 3-guard lineups with RJ Hampton. Yeah, they just have kind of no size. They did kind of add a couple, I think Donta Hall and Robert Franks, but it doesn't look like they were active last night, or that they'll play kind of any sort of role. Maybe that changes if Okiki sits, but yeah, it's looking ugly on the Orlando side.
Yeah, no, and I mean I was looking through things, and obviously going up against Milwaukee, that would probably be a better spot where they would end up rolling out some bigger guys because of all the size over on Milwaukee. Although Giannis, I don't think played in that game.
Right.
But yeah, it was just something I was looking into, and obviously we're having a whole bunch of technical difficulties right now. I'm trying to think of other
Utah's that's kind of the big spot. I feel like, right? They obviously no Conley, no Clarkson against the Washington team that can't play defense. I think there were 11-point favorites, but yeah, I mean, obviously with no Conley, Ingles projected for a boatload of minutes, 34, pretty much a shade under a fantasy point per minute. So obviously in terms of efficiency, a bit better than he's usually at. Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, I think both projecting better than they typically do. O'Neal, he's got a couple of LHQ tags there, so I guess I'm not alone and having some interest there. It's with him, it's just kind of a matter of does he knock his threes down, and does he rebound? But yeah, I mean, in terms of the bench guys, I guess we'll see some Matt Thomas, some Oni, more Georges Niang, but none of those guys are really appealing at all. But yeah, I feel like that entire starting 5 is definitely in play.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone's kind of on the same page. I guess, especially with Brooklyn no longer being on the slate, one thing that pretty drastically changes, because I mean, it's not like we had a whole bunch of great options. I mean, we still had some decent salary saver options, but I guess it's trying to figure out what salary saver options we could potentially see go up better than the ones we currently have. I mean, right now it's basically Bazemore, it's Looney, it's Georgie's, and those are Bamba, Tice, those are all the ones that are really popping in Court IQ or in lineup HQ. What with the what if projections, if Porzingis ends up missing, obviously THT, if Kuzma ends up missing, but I think he's a little bit higher price. If Kuzma ends up missing, if Jamal ends up missing, and if Porzingis ends up missing, who becomes the de facto super cheap near min price guys? Because we want to pay up for a lot of the bigger price guys.
I don't think there's really anybody we would. So our what if projections now would have Melly at 28 minutes. I think that's too high, especially with the chance that JJ Redick plays. So I mean, I guess Finney Smith and Kleber. I think Maxi Kleber, he's pretty cheap on both sites, and I mean, obviously he's not going to shoot the ball much. He's gonna kind of have to kind of luck box his way into some ancillary numbers, but when he plays, upwards of 32, 34 minutes, I mean, there's a way that he falls ass backwards into that. And just given where he's priced, like, I think maybe he makes some sense. Obviously, I think it would be more appealing with no Porzingis. And yeah, I think THT, he's probably not cheap enough, I guess, to maybe be considered that. It's kind of a shame that his price has come up because, I mean, 6K on FanDuel, 5.3 on DraftKings, certainly not on anything like a value anymore. I do like Kent Bazemore a lot, though. I mean, I kind of saw him play a lot of minutes in that last game. I think he played 32. We have him projected for 31 here. But 4.3 on DraftKings, there's really no reason why I would expect that playing time to like fall a lot, barring like foul trouble. Like I don't really know what other, unless they try to do something, play a little bit bigger to try to match up more with Jokic. And given that the Nuggets are kind of big right now with their starting lineup, obviously Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Porter Jr. all have size. So maybe they play a little bit bigger, maybe more Toscano Anderson, something like that. But yeah, I think I'm just kind of trying to talk myself out of Kent Bazemore right now. But I do like him a lot, and I think he'll probably be like my most targeted value option.
Yeah, and I think we have a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now. And I think it might be a 3-man booth. Dean, can you hear me? Can I hear you?
Yeah, what's up? Can y'all hear me?
Oh,
No.
No. Will, you can unmute yourself. Might as well throw you in the mix. Can I hear you? Talk. Nope, can't hear Will. All right. Me and Dean for right now until Devin gets that figured out. But Dean, you got any questions for Keach? We kind of went over like the Porzingis situation. We went over Kuzma. We went over pretty much everything. Like any dart questions just
Did you
based
just
off.
ask me if you can hear? You said you can't hear me. Now you're asking if I have any questions that you can't hear?
I
can hear you,
Will.
Dean.
Did you not say you couldn't hear? Were you just messing with me?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me too, Grant.
Now I can hear Will.
Man, what is going on?
Yeah.
We're in the Twilight Zone.
All right, now I can hear everyone. I could hear Dean. I couldn't hear Will. Now I can hear everyone. Will, Dean, you got any questions with SBK?
I don't have to play Kent Bazemore tonight, do I? Tell me I don't have to play Kent Bazemore.
I think you got to play Kent Bazemore. Did you catch what we were just talking about? Because I was just
He did not SBK. I
was
was looming in the shadows, and Dean was just coming into the building late for work today. Not his fault, apparently. Wow. Apparently, his house phone has shut down his dial-up internet. So,
Did you guys do body parts? I think that's important as far as who's in and who's out. The people
Yes, we've already talked about things extensively. Dean, you've been gone for like a half hour.
I know.
Yeah,
I feel like I missed a lot.
Dino, if you pull a Josh Jackson out of a hollow pack, you know that me and Chief get 50% of it.
It's got a market of 2 people that are interested. Yeah. Well, maybe the Jackson family as well.
Yeah, I mean, we probably are the only 2 people that might buy.
I guess we'll open it another day because now all my stuff is closed and we're already behind on time. But yeah, and we'll be able to hype it up. I'm sure people get excited. Do people care? Do people actually want to watch me? Is that interesting? I don't know.
Dean, you got a pack?
I don't think so.
A pack.
Dean always gets a pack. He's got every pack.
I got a pack guy. I know a guy.
Jacob packs. It's actually not Jacob. That's an inside joke. But anyway.
All right. Well, yeah. I guess I don't know what we should start talking about. I'm not the host anymore. Dean,
we got to say goodbye to Keach. Keach.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna kick myself off now if nobody else does it. So yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Hope you all have a great one. I'm glad we all got it figured out technically, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right, see you, SBK.
I'm sure he did a fabulous job. I'm sure Grant asked excellent questions. So now we're just going 3 men going forward, Devin? Is that what we're doing? Just kind of power through?
I guess might as well. I mean, everyone's here. We only got like a half hour, 20 minutes.
And Devin just got kicked off the show just like that. Devin, whatever questions you're compiling, feel free to throw them my way, and I'll fire to you guys later on. Of course, you guys in the chat. What up, chat? My apologies for being late. I had some issues, some technical issues over here right as we were going on air, right about to go live, and then out of nowhere, my internet just kind of zapped out of me. Hopefully, really good to go going forward. I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, Grant, but this is actually not the last day. Tomorrow's the last day, but MLB, you get 5 days. 5 days of MLB DFS content for $5. That is $1 a day. I'm not sure if we have a link in chat. We're going to go ahead and show the people a graphic. You get Dave Potts Cheese is good. You get my stuff. You get Chief stuff. You get Grant stuff. You get Noto stuff. You get Meansy. Well, no, Meansy does basketball, but you get Meansy will be partaking in the crunch time, which is it's a crossover today. Basketball and baseball will be good times for sure. But yeah, you get all the baseball content, the Plate IQ, which is just an absolutely incredible tool, the optimizer, lineup HQ, all that good stuff. $5, 5 days, $1 a day. Go ahead and check that out. And Grant, I think did you have some picks for the people as far as Super Draft? Let's kind of knock that out too. Obviously, Will, you were not prepared for this, but Super Draft, the promo is Grinders. The code is Grinders, GRINDERS. $50 instant deposit bonus alongside the $500 initial deposit match bonus. Grant, do you have something to show as far as the screen, or you have some winners for the people? Help them out.
I think, yeah, Devin put them together. Like, if you're playing over on Super Draft, I'm just going to give you the 5 top plays pretty much. So,
wow.
Like, well, these guys are so, like, at least these first 3 are so far above everyone else, in my opinion. Like, only reason fade him is because of ownership. Curry is at a 1.3x multiplier. You're just like,
that seems wrong. Why
even
is that?
it is wrong. It's very wrong. It's very wrong. Like, I'm playing on lock him in. I'm playing 100%. Basically, the only reason you don't play him is playing on a blowout. But go ahead, play him. Fox is a 1.3x multiplier. Donovan Mitchell's at a 1.2x multiplier. They are much better than most of the other guards, but they're not requirements, but they're the top plays. If you're playing cash, those 3 guards are what you go with. Top center by a decent margin is Joker. You can pivot to Vooch or Gobert if you really want to, but Jokic is the top center at a 1.05x multiplier. Top forward for me, top play on every single site for me, every single one of them is Zion. Like, Zion is a 1.15x multiplier over on Super Draft, over on FanDuel, over on DraftKings. He's priced up. I don't think people are going to go with him that much. I haven't looked at ownership projections once the Brooklyn game got announced being canceled. He's at 18.3%. So less of a lock and load for me. Still absolutely love him, and we can talk about that during the rest of the show if you want.
Well, I know you weren't prepared, but I'm sure you're doing your own personal research. You weren't prepared to be on air.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
Yeah,
I'm always
did the
prepared.
morning grind last night, Dean. You know if you were a big fan.
Well, you were on the morning grind too. You were on the baseball podcast. I was aware of
Yes.
that. Yourself and Stevie. I did not catch the basketball one. My apologies. But yeah, Will, how are we attacking this slate? Obviously, the Nets and the Wolves game was going to be super interesting with all the dudes that are going to be out. But Utah, we always talk about Utah. They're not interesting at all when everybody's healthy, and they're super interesting when 1 or 2 guys are out. We're looking at Conley being out for rest. Clarkson, last I saw, not officially ruled out. He's doubtful, but we're assuming he's out with his ankle. And it's the perfect storm, right? Because they're facing they have an absolutely fabulous matchup against Washington. I assume this is good chalk, right? Like Donovan Mitchell's got to be good chalk. We'll be talking about Jingle and Joe. O'Neal was always one of those guys like I never really can trust, but in theory he should get a boost as well. How are you attacking that game? I assume that's appetizing to you.
Yeah, I love this game. Bottom line is this. Everybody's on Utah. Nobody's on Washington. I'm going to be loading up on Westbrook, Beal. Probably going to have some Rui Hachimura tonight. May even throw some Daniel Gafford in there just for kicks. Bottom line, that's the bottom line in this game. When I look at this ownership, especially on FanDuel, you guys, and I'm loading up heavy on FanDuel, playing on both sites today, FanDuel and DraftKings. But when I'm looking at Donovan Mitchell, 56%, Joe Ingles, 47%, Bojan Bogdanovic, 35%, Royce O'Neal, 22%. I mean, gorgeous Orhez Niang. Let's go Orhez Niang. I like to pronounce names right, and I feel like I'm getting his wrong, so I'm sorry. Georges Niang. Let's go with that. He's 3,800. He's projected at 9%. That's more than everybody on the Washington team, including Westbrook. Westbrook, 6%. Beal, 7%. Rui, 5%. That makes absolutely no sense to me, especially when Westbrook just torched this team for about 75 fantasy points. I'm not saying that he's going to have a repeat performance. What I'm saying is I think Washington has a better chance to stay in this game with limited bodies. Trust me, Utah's not going to be playing stellar defense tonight. Mitchell's got to be out there playing. He's one of their best scorers, him and Jingle and Joe. I'm very excited about the Washington side of this game. Full disclosure, I am locking in Donovan Mitchell 100%. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think I'm crazy here. I'm just saying in terms of the Washington side of the ball, there's just no ownership, which makes absolutely no sense to me. And right now, I think I'm at about 30% Russell Westbrook, and I'm real close to just locking in Russell Westbrook and having both of those guys in a fireworks competition here of who can score the most points, who's going to get the triple-double. I really like this game as a whole, and I think we're making a mistake by not getting the ownership on that side of the ball.
Grant?
I'm not quite as high. I trust Will entirely, and I have no problem playing Westbrook on the other side. Even with Beal coming back in, Westbrook can still go off for an absolutely massive game. It's obviously not a great spot for fantasy production going against Utah, but without Conley, without Clarkson in there, like the chances the game might end up being closer, and the fact that Washington runs at such a high pace, I'm kind of entirely fine with Westbrook. My main problem is I want Zion, I think 100%. I think I want him in 100% of my lineups today. Without all the guard. Yeah, he's so good. I mean, he's running a little bit of the point. Sacramento runs at a high pace. They've been running at the 8th highest pace in the league, I think, since the All-Star break. They're the worst defense in the league. We all know that, but they also give a ton of points into the paint. I'm not going to be surprised if Zion's just driving the hole over and over again. I think he could put up 50 real-life points in the spot. That, I honestly think that's a possibility. Zion is my favorite play on the board. If you want to be different, I would play both him and Mitchell, but you could swap from Mitchell over to Zion and then play Ingles and Gobert, or Ingles and Bogdanovich and Georgie's, any of those guys. But I absolutely love Zion today.
Yeah, the run back, by the way, as far as that Washington game, it's Westbrook, yeah, for sure. It's just that there's so many other players that look better. It depends on how much money how much, I guess, salary opens up, I suppose. But Fox looks like a better play dollar for dollar. Simmons on FanDuel looks like a really strong play. Curry seems pretty reasonable as well. San Antonio, something's going to happen with San Antonio today. I think something's going to happen here on a back-to-back, and I think we might see DeRozan sit. Just kind of be on alert for that. Who knows? Magic 8 Ball is not really working so often these days, but we shall see. Ja Morant's still too cheap. I know it's a back-to-back for him. That's kind of the issue with running it back with Westbrook. But I agree with you, Will. If that game stays close and it's a 12-point line, give or take, that's what we're looking at right now. And if it's a 10-point game with 3 minutes to go, Westbrook's still in there. And Utah is one of those teams that just keep their guys out there longer than most, as far as their coaching staff. Not to the extent that D'Antoni did back in the day, but they'll keep their starters out there 2-3 minutes or so in a 20-point game. That will happen. We see that for sure. It is the front end of a back-to-back, so maybe they get a little bit earlier as far as the hook. Rank the Jazz players for you, Grant, as far as the appeal. Ingles kind of bringing that conversation. Mitchell, we talked about. Gobert he's still fine, but he's hard to get the most excited about. O'Neal is another one of those guys. I have a hard time getting excited about him. And then there's a couple cheapies that may kind of sort of become interesting depending on how the rest of the ins and the outs kind of unfold as we get up the lock. I don't know how much we'll need them, but there's some interesting cheapies there. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm ranking them, it's Mitchell and Ingles 1A and 1B. Both of them are absolutely fantastic plays. Maybe a slight lean towards Mitchell, but Ingles I just absolutely love. Then next tier is going to be Bogdanovich and Gobert probably. Next tier is O'Neal. Next tier is probably Gorgeous, just because he's 3.1K. It's that simple. We're looking for salary savings on this slate, and maybe it'll open up based on if Kuzma misses, Okeke misses, any of those guys miss. But right now, we're just looking for salary savers, and he's going to play a bit more minutes, and he's going to be a little bit more productive in those minutes, and we just need cheap stuff. Plus, in a blowout, he's probably going to get a little bit more extended run. So, Mitchell and Ingles are clear and obvious top plays probably on the entire slate. Realistically, they're probably the top guys. And I'm looking at ownership. Yeah, they're two of the top 4 owned guys on the entire slate.
I think there's a chance you get a little extra run at Oni or Niang if things kind of get out of hand. And they're playing at least 20 minutes as is. They're basically the 6th and 7th guy. Well, who knows what their starting lineup's going to be? It's probably going to be Ingles jumping in there. It's probably going to be Mitchell, Ingles, O'Neal, Gobert, and Bogdanovich. Will, give us a pivot away. If we're somehow ignoring that, or what are we blending that with? Is there another kind of game stack that you're looking at? Is there value that's popping for you?
Well, I do think there's some value in Daniel Tice today, and nobody's going to play him. I just think, they're playing Memphis. Memphis is going to play, slightly big. They're going to play some J-Val. They're going to play some Brandon Clark. And I think Daniel Tice is just kind of out here, ready to feast. He's in Chicago. Definitely think he's going to get minutes. If you look at, what he's done, 2 of the last 3 games, he's played 25 or more minutes. put up 25 or more fantasy points. Like, this is the kind of pivoting I want to do when Royce O'Neal is going to be 22% owned on a slate that doesn't have any value. I want to find some other value that we're overlooking. I think Daniel Tice is on the list. And so he's a guy, for me, he's going to be squarely in play. Squarely. So I'm really excited about that. Some other guys that I think are probably on the list, definitely going to be a Harrison Barnes day for me. I think people are, kind of overlooking. I don't want to say overlooking the whole game, but I think this is the de facto next game stack on the list if there ever was one. Sacramento and New Orleans, and all these guys are pretty reasonably priced. So, I like this game a lot. So like I said, Harrison Barnes definitely going to be on my list. He's a guy that probably won't get as much ownership. And I'm trying to see, and on FanDuel, what's his name? Daniel Tice is pretty cheap. On DK, he's 3,300. I don't see how we don't play Daniel Tice today at 3,300. It makes no sense. But hey, maybe I'm missing something. If so, I'll be willing to do that. I can guarantee you right now, Daniel Tice is going to be in my lineup. This is guaranteed. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. So I want to bring that up because he's a guy that I think nobody's on. Secondly, want to get back to this game. Harrison Barnes at 6,300. I'm not saying he's going to go out and drop a 40 spot, but at 6,300 in this spot on this slate, 35 to 38 fantasy points is definitely in the cards. Same thing for Buddy Hield. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Mo Harkless today. Like, is he going to get 31 minutes? He's 3,300. He's another guy I think you maybe just throw in the mix, especially if you're multi-entering. And these are guys that we're still not playing and we're starving for value. But no one's thinking about Harkless. No one's thinking about Daniel Tice. And we were going to be all over Chios and Claxton. Now, yeah, they were going to have more steady minutes. Yeah. But in my opinion, Tice has a stable minutes. He's going to probably play 25 minutes in this spot. And if Harkless gets to start again, looks like he may play 30 minutes. So I think these are guys we just want to keep on our radar. I'm not saying I do think Tice is a slam dunk. Harkless, obviously, I don't think is a slam dunk. But Daniel Tice, man, give me some Tice today. I think he's ready to roll.
Grant, I got to be honest, that's a name I've not considered at all on this slate. That's thrown me for a curveball for sure. But are you in on Tice?
Yeah, I like. He's someone I keep looking at and then forgetting about. But I mean, he's 3.3K. Like every other super cheap guy. Like, why are we thinking about them over Tice? And I get Tice's production's always all over the place. I get the fact that they have multiple different big guys that they can throw in there, and that he may or may not get 20, 25 minutes of run. But everything else, like all the cheap guys right now, are trash.
Trash, Dean. Yeah. Trash.
Kevon Looney, I don't want. Like, he's going to, we know Wiseman's out. I didn't do the body parts. Of course, Wiseman's out. Pascal's out as well, too. They're out with or without Oubre, too. But, like, Looney's not going to get a ton of run. I think there was even a quote from Kerr, like, he's not going to give him a big extended run. He's a terrible fantasy player. He might play 26 minutes or something like that. I don't really want that. Yeah.
Looney, 17%.
I don't want it. I don't want Looney. I'm not interested. I don't want to play that. If I'm playing that means I pivoted or I clicked the wrong button or something like that.
And that's on FanDuel. Sorry, let me get the DraftKings ownership because it's probably going to be
close to Looney on DraftKings.
On DK.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and that makes sense because of the price, but still, I mean, come on.
He's not a good fantasy player, and I don't think he gets this great extended run. Yeah, I'd rather take a chance on one of the Utah guys personally, like a Niang. Or something like that before I even do that. O'Neal, you talked about, it's probably, I don't want to say he's bad chalk, but he feels like bad chalk because he's just, how does his role change? He does basically the same things, right? I didn't run the on-off stuff, and there's probably not a lot of on-off stuff to run with the guys that are out. But Grant, is that bad chalk, Royce O'Neal?
I mean, not
not bad chalk.
It's not good chalk. Like it's Tums. It's Tums. That's what it's. That kind of chalk.
Tums?
Yeah, an occasional help. But most of the time, it's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, Tums does the job. I don't use Tums, but I imagine
I'm more of a fan of the Alka-Seltzer brand that tastes like Mentos.
Yeah, so you just eat them as candy. Like your stomach's perfectly fine, but it's just tasty.
I bring them to every bachelor party I go to and just hand them out like candy, and everyone's like, "These literally saved my life."
You make it rain with Tums. All right. Did you have a take Bazemore? I kind of threw the name out before. Like in theory, he's got to play 25 to 32 minutes or something like that. Yes. Do we want to play Bazemore tonight?
We don't want to. We have to, or we likely have to. We need cheap guys, so it's just figuring out which one you're going to play. And Bazemore is the most likely candidate. I mean,
at 4,300 on DK, you almost have to.
Yeah, I mean, who's the pivot? Like, you can
know.
try and find a few extra for Bogdanovich. You could swap at a different position to Bamba, but
yeah, Bamba on a back-to-back is a little bit tricky. I assume, like, he's very fragile. So I don't know how many minutes they're going to play, but even if he plays like 22, 23, 24, he should be fine in theory. And to my knowledge, they're resting Harris. They haven't said they're resting Bamba, so to my knowledge, he's a go. It's also, we should note, I suppose 7:30 is the lock tonight. So you're buying yourself, get yourself an extra half hour. 2 games going down at 7:30: Philly, Dallas, and the Lakers in New York. How about like Jokic, Embiid, Luka? Also, there's a chance that Kristaps doesn't play. Porzingis on the back-to-back, potential rest candidate. We've seen it before. Stay tuned on that for Dallas. We should know because it's 7:30. But other big spends, Will, like amongst the big spends, who are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, Embiid is definitely on my list, especially on FanDuel. We've got him projected at 1%. My gosh, especially if Kristaps is out. I mean, doesn't this just become a bloodbath for whoever has to guard Embiid inside? I mean, Maxi Kleber's not going to stop Embiid.
Nope.
Powell isn't going to stop Embiid. Willie Cauley-Stein isn't going to stop him. Like, I mean, he's just going to have a field day. Well, negative. Boban may not even see the floor. So, and I have nothing against Boban. It's just the coach doesn't. They're not going to play him big minutes. So I just don't worry about it. But I mean, Embiid at 1% is just, I mean, incredibly tasty. I mean, it's like red velvet cake all year. Just hand it to me. I want it. So, I think he's in play. Another big spin or semi-big spin, if you will. I know we've kind of talked about it, but I think De'Aaron Fox is going to kind of end up being the guy. And on DK, I get it. Really both sides. I mean, they've already talked about, you probably heard on the podcast this morning, I think the guy's averaging 70 fantasy points against New Orleans this season in 2 games. And that very well could continue tonight with no Lonzo Ball defense. And I think Lonzo Ball probably played in those games anyway. So I think he's on the list. Maybe Bradley Beal, if you think, like I said, I do kind of like that game. His ownership should be down because he's not really playing 35 minutes. But what if this is the game he comes out and scores, 30 real points in the first half? You may want some Bradley Beal. Lastly, and I will say this, last night, this is a guy I didn't think I was going to want to play. But the more I thought about it, I said, this guy could be a slate breaker, especially on FanDuel. I think the combination on FanDuel, or the de facto combination, is going to be Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles. Mm-hmm. That's probably the de facto combo. But you're going to get much different lineup construction if you take Donovan Mitchell and pair him with basically the guy that has the next highest upside, which is Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine goes off for another 50 fantasy points and Mitchell goes off for 50, you've got them both. You've got so much leverage on the field and totally different lineup construction. Now, I don't feel comfortable playing Zach LaVine at 8,700. So, quite honestly, he's not going to be in my single entry lineup. But in my multi-entry build, I do have about 15, 20% Zach LaVine right now. And I mean, if he happens to pop off today, massive leverage on the field where everybody's going to have Mitchell and Ingles as kind of the primary combination. So I'm really excited about that. He's another kind of not completely big spin, but kind of a guy that's just out in the middle of nowhere that we won't play today because we're on Mitchell and Ingles, and he's kind of being forgotten about.
We have pulled some questions here from the chat. The whole show's been kind of flustered. My apologies again for showing up late. I don't know what you guys covered, what you guys didn't cover. Of course, baseball is following us in about 5 minutes or so. We're going to step aside and make way. What's up?
I covered everything.
Yeah, you're all over it for sure. Cardi, you guys know Cardi from the bat. If you guys are premium members, if you guys want to be premium members, check the link out there and check. Get yourself $10 off your first month. And again, for baseball, 5 days, $5. It ends tomorrow. There's really no reason not to test it out. People are always asking for a test drive. Here it is. Here's your test drive. 5 days, $5. Have at it. Sign up for that for sure. You got Cheese is Good, Dave Potts on Crunch Time as well too, with Andy, who's for sure going to be talking about all the shenanigans that we're not really anticipating as far as basketball. Grant, I have some questions that we compiled from the chat, and thank you for firing them off. We've trained them. They're just like firing them without even asking, without even prompting them. Devin, our producer, has been compiling them. We do have to kind of step aside soon. So kind of sort of a lightning round, Grant. Can you be efficient for the people?
Yeah, I'll do DK. Will do FanDuel.
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Grant.
All right, DK question, Grant, Russ, Mitchell, and Ingles. Is that a good start for a lineup?
Yes.
FanDuel cash locks. What do you have for me? Give me some cash locks, Bill.
Definitely Mitchell. I honestly think De'Aaron Fox is a cash lock tonight on FanDuel, but more than likely in cash, you probably want to go with Ben Simmons because he's 7,200. But me personally, I would still go with De'Aaron Fox. Another cash lock that, I think is, for me, he's a cash lock, but I think you got to play a little bit more risky in cash tonight on FanDuel. I would definitely take Daniel Tice against Memphis. I'm telling you, I know Royce O'Neal's getting big minutes, but I think Tice is a better play overall. But like I said, that's just me. And then at center, probably Andre Drummond at 6,500. He's probably only going to play no more than 28 minutes, but we know what he's going to do in that time. It's all pretty much going to run through him mostly. He's going to be a rebound machine.
Yeah, I like Mitchell, Fox, and Joe Ingles. I think that's a really, really good start for a cash lineup as well. I know you covered that as well, too. All right, Grant, another question. Well, they're asking, this is an interesting question. Who's got bigger girth, Zion or Tatum? That Zion. Like, come on, Zion. I mean, we're talking broadness, I'm sure. Let's see. Is Matt Barnes, Harrison Barnes relative? I don't believe so. Fairly certain that's not true. I don't know. Any love for the Suns and Houston tonight? They're playing basketball well. Do we care about the Suns in Houston?
Not particularly, which means they're a great tournament play. But especially for me on FanDuel, I just think Phoenix is overpriced for what could happen in this spot, and so I'm going to avoid them all.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question.
Mikal Bridges. Bridges will be in my build. Sorry, but I won't have Paul, Booker, or Ayton.
Do we have any love for the Wizards bigs as far as value tonight? Gafford was thrown out there. I know you threw Gafford out there too, and I don't like the Wizards like bigs whack-a-mole game. I just don't. It's hard to figure out who it's going to be on any given night, and I don't know how necessary it may or may not be. But you mentioned Gafford. I guess that's your favorite one as far as the Wizards bigs?
Yeah, just because they're going to throw him out there for 18, 20 minutes, and he's got some upside in that time. He's 4K on FanDuel, and if he gets 18, 20 minutes and puts up 25 fantasy points, I mean, he could possibly outscore Royce O'Neal at a fraction of the ownership. So not a cash game play by any stretch, but as a tournament play, I think you roll the dice. So
I haven't ran lineups since the Brooklyn game was canceled, and now I'm realizing why you're talking about Tice, because we had to replace all the value in Brooklyn.
Yeah, no Claxton, no Chioza, no Jeff Green, none of those guys, no Naz Reid, no McDaniels, none of that. It's all gone.
That's why I'm like, why are you bringing up Tyson? I'm like, well, okay, now I guess we have to acknowledge his presence because, other people rise as far as the value chart. We do have to step aside and get out of here, Grant. Give me a summary, give me a favorite play, give me a value play, something you haven't touched on for whatever reason, as far as the slates. Give the people something good.
Zion's going to score more points than anyone else on the entire slate by 10.
Oh, wow. Will, see that and raise it. We got to earn our like, Will. You got to make it good. They got to hit the like button. They're going to only hit the like button if they like what you say right now.
Russell Westbrook scores another 70 fantasy points against Utah tonight.
There you go. Well, Russ.
Only 5 less than Zion.
Russ, Zion, Utah, and Daniel Tice.
And neither one of those guys are high owned today, by the way, Dean. So it's not like we're giving them some obvious plays. People are actually not playing Zion and Westbrook today. Right, Grant? That's where the slate is.
Mm-hmm.
Did Grant just check out? He's like, it's fine.
I said, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're all nuts. What are you eating your Tums? You know what's good with red velvet cake, by the way? Tums. I think you got to get those together for sure. Devin, thank you for producing. My apologies for showing up late. We're going to open the pack soon enough. If the people care about that, maybe we'll open it tomorrow night on our show. No, that's top. We'll figure it out. No worries. You know who's on deck. You know who's in the bullpen. It's one Derek Hardy. It's one Stevie TPFL. They're going to be talking baseball very shortly. After that crunch time, you got Andy Means. You got Cheese is Good, Dave Potts. You got Kevin Roth with the weather. That was Will. Thank you, Will, for showing up. I do appreciate that. I'm sure Grant appreciates that too.
Happy to help you guys. You're my faves.
That was Grant too. Devin was here certainly as well. He was lurking. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it again. Apologies for the technical issues. My bad. I'm going to go yell at Comcast. That was basketball. We're out of here. Holler.
Hey, kids.
back in the Fantasy Bar, big Monday night in baseball. And I'm here with 6 of my favorite plays, including 3 bats for you at 3K or below on FanDuel, a starting pitcher in the mid-range with some big-time upside, and of course, my favorite play of the night. Who is it? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Monday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. It's been a while since we hung out here in the Fantasy Bar. Good to be back once again talking MLB. 6 of my favorite plays for you across both FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you, as always, for hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar. Now, before we get into things, guys, a few housekeeping items. It's been a while, so a few refreshers here. First of all, hit that thumbs up button on the video. That's the tip jar here in the Fantasy Bar. We bring you this video free of charge. That's all we're looking for in return are those thumbs ups. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when the videos are coming out. We're going to be dependent on the MLB schedule, so it won't always be the same days. Also going to mix in some NBA videos. We haven't forgot about our NBA players. So best way to get notified, subscribe to the channel and get those notifications when the videos are coming out. Next, Rotogrinders premium MLB product has been on fire, guys, and we want to offer you a special deal here. $5 for just 5 days, and this offer expires tomorrow. So you want to get and take advantage of this offer, but some great content, some great projections, ownership projections, premium articles and videos. Guys, go and check it out. If you're not a premium subscriber already, just $5 for 5 days. Can't beat it. And last thing, scoresandodds.com. For all my sports bettors out there, hit the link below the video, scoresandodds.com/beer for more special pricing on that. Gives you access to all the different sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, everything going on in the sports betting world. Guys, go check it out at scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, we got all that out of the way. Let's talk some MLB baseball here for tonight. Again, we're looking for some value plays, and we're going to start right there in the outfield with Mark Canha of the A's. So Canha been hitting leadoff for Oakland, going to hit leadoff for us here tonight. I've been really producing for our DFS lineups here, 4 multi-hit games now over the last 7. We know this is a guy that has always hit left-handed pitching well. And with Madison Bumgarner on the hill, this is a guy I want to get in my lineups. Nice 374 weighted OBA for Canha over the last 2 seasons. And Bumgarner, like we mentioned, just not the same guy that he was in San Francisco. This is a guy that has really struggled mightily with right-handed hitting. In fact, one of the worst pitchers, in my opinion, when you look at some of the numbers against righties. Big name, yes, but the numbers bear it out. We're talking about a WOBA allowed over 400, an ISO over 300, a 45% hard contact rate, and a strikeout rate against righties at just 14%. So this Oakland lineup, maybe not a bunch of big names, but a team I think you can stack up or use Canha as a one-off here in this matchup against the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, let's go to the infield. Let's spend some money at third base with Nolan Arenado of the Cardinals. So there's some solid third base options tonight. There's some solid guys on the high end. We're talking guys like Jose Ramirez, who I really like tonight. The Yankees outfielders you're going to have to pay up, and Judge and Stanton. I think Arenado could go overlooked here tonight, and I think that's going to be a mistake. So, A, we get nice ownership on him off of some of those other names. So again, I like a lot, but I really like Arenado here as well. Next, we get a guy that's locked in, coming over from Colorado. There was a lot of questions. Was it just Coors Field? Is he going to be able to get it done? I think he's already answered some of those questions. Hits in every single game to open the season for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Eddie on the other side really struggles keeping the ball in the yard. You see that home run number, almost 2 home runs per 9 innings, a WOBA at 383, the ISOs you'd expect up there over 250, and a hard contact rate at 44%. So nice matchup here for Arenado, nice low ownership here. I think he keeps that hit streak going, not only with a hit, but I think he goes yard here tonight. Don't be afraid to pay those prices, especially at $3,900 over on FanDuel. All right, let's get back to Value Town here in the outfield with Jordan Luplow of the Indians. Now, you guys know I love me some Jordan Luplow, making another appearance here in the 6-pack. Reason why, he's a nice cheap price, and it's a leadoff hitter in a good lineup and a guy that hits lefties well. So he's going to start out with a lefty. Even when you get into some of the bullpen, I don't mind him against righties either. So one of those guys that can hit either lefties or righties. And the numbers against lefties are really what we're here to talk about. 240 ISO against them over the last 2 seasons. Also has put up a 348 weighted OBA. And Rodon, a guy that can strike some hitters out, no doubt, but Luplow, just a 15% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching, so he kind of negates some of that strikeout upside. And Rodon He's not the same guy he was pre-injury. He's really struggled to come back, has worked his way back, but we're talking about a number 5 starter, not the elite name that he was coming up out of the minors. And that WOBA, 369, allowed 2 right-handed hitters, 225, the ISO as well. Love this spot for the Indians here, and love these prices on Jordan Luplow tonight on both FanDuel and DraftKings. All right, let's get to maybe the best value over on FanDuel tonight at shortstop or third base, Eugenio Suarez of the Reds. Now, you see the huge price discrepancy here between these two. I don't even mind him at 4,900 on DraftKings, to be honest with you. At $3K on FanDuel, this is the best value, in my opinion. Yeah, you may find some cheaper guys out there, but the upside that this guy's going to bring you at this price, to me, worth the buy here. So let's talk about some of the numbers here. I know it's been a slow start through the season for Suarez, but starting to get it going here over the last couple games. And not just a guy that hits lefties, also hits righties very well. 256. That ISO, as you see on the screen, a WOBA over 340 against right-handed pitching. And we got to go all the way back to 2019 to get a nice sample on Aaron Sanchez. Did not pitch at all in 2020. Obviously, 2021 just started. But 2019, 353 WOBA allowed 2 right-handed hitters. So I know that some people don't like going that far back. Sanchez generally been pretty good against right-handed hitters. And Suarez, one of those guys, it's not just starter dependent. Doesn't matter who they bring out of the bullpen, hits both righties and lefties well. The price on FanDuel is egregious, in my opinion. Take advantage, buy low here on Eugenio Suarez in a good matchup here tonight. All right, let's get you a starting pitcher. I promised you upside in the mid-range. We're going to go with Freddie Peralta of Milwaukee. So we know this guy, name of the game is strikeouts. Huge strikeout upside here. We also know he's not going to pitch a ton of innings, but doesn't really need to. And he showed that in his last start against this very same Chicago Cubs team, getting 8 strikeouts in that start in just 5 innings. So some people worry about that. He's not giving me enough innings. Look, we're not paying $9,500 for him, $10K, where you need those 7-8 innings out of a guy. We're getting him at a nice price here. And if he gives me 8 strikeouts again in 5 innings, I'm all about that against this Cubs team. And the strikeouts have come against both righties and lefties. This guy does it against both.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Grinderslive, the flagship show. It is 5:30 on the East Coast. I don't remember what else Dean says, but you guys watched him on the basketball show, so I was just trying to have some fun. I'm Stevie TPFL. I'm joined today by the creator of the bat, Derek Carty. What's happening, my friend?
Not much. How's it going?
It's another day, man. It's beautiful in Florida. Like, the weather right now is awesome. Weather stunk yesterday, but like the weather for the last week or so has been awesome.
You know what? I like you, Stevie, but I really wish the weather in Florida was crap today, because if the weather in Florida was crap today, I wouldn't have to come on here and tell people to play Rougned Odor, because that's going to be a thing, guys. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, like that whole game is very interesting with it being played in Florida and not in Toronto. So it's definitely something that I think if you're not really paying attention, you can easily overlook that. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that as we get going here. But before we do that, we are presented by superdraft.com. If you guys haven't checked them out, sign up using promo code Grinders for a $50 instant deposit alongside the $500 match bonus. I have some plays up that I'm sure Devin is showing you now. Those are 3 guys that I have to have in my lineups over there on Super Draft. Cardi, it's Tyler Glasnow at a really high multiplier, Jared Walsh at a maximum multiplier, and Kyle Tucker at a very high multiplier. I'm sure you don't disagree with any of those.
No, I'm good with that. I'm totally on board.
So I'll bring up some Super Draft plays as we're going here, playing over there as well. So if you guys have any questions, always feel free to hit them up in chat. What's up, chat? I see you guys over there. Derek, we're going to start with pitching. We have 11 games now, potentially 10 games. We have a little bit of weather that Kevin Roth is kind of paying attention to here in Baltimore. So let's start with pitching. What are we looking at today as far as arms?
Yeah, so we have these 3 high-priced arms. We have Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow, and Zach Greinke. I was curious to see how ownership projections were going to shake out on these guys, because I think it is very, very clearly Tyler Glasnow as the top guy here. Obviously, he's super talented. A lot of times, I'm unwilling or just a little reluctant to pay a really high price for him because his leash is so much shorter than your traditional ace. But the matchup today is just so much better than these other guys that I really think it has to be Glasnow in your cash games. Like, he's facing this bad Texas Rangers offense, one of the top 5 teams in terms of strikeouts today. They're getting a big park downgrade going into the Trop. I just see no reason not to play Glasnow in cash.
I'm with you. I think he's the top arm on the slate. I really like him just in general here. You can always play Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is an elite strikeout pitcher, but the line of this game tells us everything too. Like, this game has a 7 total, then the Yankees game has a 9 total. This game's in the Dome in Florida, where it'd be 74 degrees inside of the Dome instead of 85. So I'm with you. I lean Glasnow as well. I don't like Greinke at all. I think he's way overpriced. I know he's been pitching better recently. Last year, a little bit better. This year, he's been okay to start the season. And Detroit's not a team that you're super scared of, but 10-2 for Zach Greinke when I can get 2 elite strikeout pitchers in Glasnow or Cole for a little bit more. Like, I'm paying up every time. Or I'm even going down to a guy that, we talked about last week. We were on the show together, Carlos Rodon. He looked great in that start. He was hitting over 100 miles an hour. What are your thoughts here on Carlos Rodon?
I liked him a lot. Obviously, that first start, he looked good. His velocity was up. I think this matchup's kind of a tough one for him, and he's real like 10 or 9-4 for Rodon. Like you mentioned, Greinke being overpriced, which he definitely is, but I kind of think Rodon is also. It's going to come down to ownership, though. Like Garrett Cole, we have him projected 28% ownership. Greinke's 14 and Rodon is 6. So I'm fine, honestly, at those ownerships if you want to play Greinke or Rodon. But I do think there's actually a lot of guys in like the 6K range that make a lot of sense today in GPPs.
I'm with you, and we're going to talk about those guys. Let's talk about this like next tier, like Bumgarner to McKenzie. When I look at like this tier, like I'm Xing all these guys out. I don't like McKenzie. I don't like Alcantara. I don't like Cobb, Singer, Bumgarner. I'm more amped to stack against Bumgarner than play him. Or is there any of these guys that maybe stand out to you a little bit?
I hate to say it, but like I do think you can make a case for Bumgarner and GPPs, especially if Oakland is going to be on the chalkier side. Like I hate Madison Bumgarner. I'm never a guy who's like, I've never been a Bumgarner truther. I don't like playing him. But Oakland isn't a good offense this year. They lose their DH going into the National League. There's plenty of reasons to like Oakland on the other side. We'll get to it. I like them more as an offense in a vacuum. But from a pure probability standpoint, ownership standpoint, and GPPs, 4% owned Madison Bumgarner at this price against this offense, I think is okay to have a little exposure there.
That makes one of us. I get it.
The Bumgarner guy, but
no, but I get it too, because like Freddie Peralta, who's right below Bumgarner, is going to be massive chalk on the slate. He's going to be the chalky SP2. You're not going to talk me out of it. I think a lot of even potentially like the David Peterson number, like ownership could potentially go to a guy like Peralta as well, because we do have some cheap bats that we can play as far as hitters go. Talk to me about Freddie Peralta being, chalky here in this matchup against the Cubs, who everybody's swinging a bat with a hole in it to start the season.
Yeah, the Cubs are one of those offenses, and maybe it's not the truth anymore, that for a year or two now has had a better reputation than they actually are. This is not an elite offense anymore. It might not even be a good offense anymore. And it is a very strikeout prone offense. This Cubs offense projects as the most strikeout heavy lineup of the entire slate. And Freddie Peralta is is good. Like Freddie Peralta, the bat thinks is a very, very, very good pitcher. Obviously a very strikeout heavy pitcher, always has been, but he's really, even this year, he's made some pretty significant improvements. This used to be a guy earlier in his career. I mean, even as early as last year, he was throwing his fastball 65% of the time, 75% of the time, 80% of the time. And fastballs are the least effective pitch you can possibly throw. So this year, Freddie Peralta's come out. He's throwing his fastball less than 50% of the time. He's throwing his secondary stuff way more, and that's going to lead to good things for him. And so, especially in this matchup against this Cubs offense, getting a park downgrade, so strikeout heavy. I was hoping they were going to leave the roof open, but it's right on that borderline, and they do have it closed today. But I still think at this price, with his strikeout upside and with his underlying talent level and the changes he's made this year, I like him quite a bit. The biggest thing you can say against Peralta, I think, is the leash. He's always been a guy who, he'll throw 80 or 85 pitches in a game. He did throw over 90 in his first start this year. Maybe they're going to stretch him more, but that is still something to keep in the back of your mind.
It's just not Peralta. It's Milwaukee in general. They're so quick to yank guys because the bullpen is just so good. So I don't know. Sometimes it's like we're chasing the ceiling of going deeper into games, but sometimes it's nice just to have like that 20, 25 points. I have Peralta as my SP2 in my single entries for tonight, but there's a guy towards the bottom that I'm definitely thinking about. Let's get into this next tier. We got Robbie Ray, Bassett, Wade Miley, Alizé. Anything standing out to you here? Like I kind of like Sheffield, but like I'm really worried about the weather. I don't think I'm going to end up, playing him.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make a case for Sheffield. He's going to be low owned. He's facing the Orioles. This isn't as strikeout heavy of an Orioles team as it's been in the past, but I still think Sheffield is fine if you think the weather plays here. But there really are probably like 5 guys in this like 6 to 7K range or even a little lower that I think are completely GPP viable, and most of them will come at lower ownership, I think.
Yeah, Alizé with no Yelich, I think we could potentially start there. We're looking at this Milwaukee lineup, and like we have a lot of strikeouts here. Like obviously Vogelbach, Shaw, these guys have tons of power, but Derek, we're looking at like a combined strikeout rate since the start of last season of 27% against righties. And I know you like a larger sample size, but even if we go and we look at the last 2 seasons, like they're still at 25%. There's a lot of strikeouts here for Alizé, a young kid that has the stuff to strike people out. He's just a little wild at times.
Yeah, this projects in the bat as I think the 3rd or 4th most strikeout heavy lineup. So it's definitely there. My concern with him is the same concern really that I have with Peralta, but more extreme, which is that the leash. This is not a guy who has ever had a long leash, didn't have a long leash in his first start. The bat has his baseline pitch count as 77 pitches, which is not high. And so he, I think, either needs to be efficient, needs to have that longer leash tonight to really be able to hit that upside. It is there, but I do think there are some things working against him in that regard.
All right, let's get down to the bottom. Let's talk about these guys towards the bottom. Peterson was a guy that was projecting to be a little bit owned. I know we were talking before the show that like I was on the fence about Gant. What are you looking at here towards the bottom of these pitchers in price?
Yeah, so I think Gant is certainly in play here. Like he's the cheapest of this tier, and that alone, makes him a little bit more appealing. This Nationals lineup, I do think, is better than I was expecting at the beginning of the day. We have Josh Bell back. We have Kyle Schwarber back. I mean, there's not like a true hole in this lineup. Like Josh Harrison isn't great. But this isn't a lineup that I feel comfortable like attacking. But I do think Gant is fine. 5.7K in St. Louis instead of Washington, park downgrade for them. Like I think Gant is totally fine. I think you can also make a case for Chase Anderson against the Mets, getting a big park upgrade, that game is now off the slate, right? I didn't have it X'd yet. Dean Kramer, though, if we think the weather is okay there against Seattle, like I think it's 6-5. I think he's totally fine. Like Seattle's a bad offense, strikeout heavy offense. And Noah for Atlanta, I think is really interesting. Another guy with potential leash issues. Like last year, he was basically used exclusively as an opener, but they're using him as a real starter this year. He threw, I think, 68 pitches or something like that in his first start. If he bumps up to 85 or 90 in this one against the Marlins, which are obviously bad, and they are the second most strikeout heavy offense on this slate after the Cubs, I think there's a good amount of value and potential upside for Noah. Even though there are leash concerns, there are those concerns with a lot of these guys today.
Before we move on to catcher, we kind of skipped over Wade Miley, and the chat was asking about it going into San Francisco. I don't know, Derek, when we're looking at this San Francisco lineup, we haven't officially got the lineup yet, but like projected lineup wise, they could potentially throw 7 decent right-handed hitters at Miley and could be like the low-owned cheap potential stack. I don't know how much I really want to play Wade Miley. Really good against lefties, high strikeout stuff against lefties. But on the right-hand side, he's wild. He doesn't have the strikeout stuff, and like it's a patient Giants lineup.
Yeah, it's a patient lineup. They don't strike out a ton. And he's more expensive than the rest of this kind of tier. Like he's over 7K. There's enough of these guys in the 6K range where I don't think I'm stretching for Miley against this Giants offense today.
I'm with you. Hopefully that answers your question, Steve. And I agree with you, Steve. Smash the like button over there on YouTube. Help us out, guys. Let's get into catchers. I could almost bet the catcher that I'm going to play today. Let's talk catchers. What are we looking at here at the catcher position?
Well, I know you're a fan of Oakland today, right? So we don't have a lineup there yet, but I'm assuming a guy like Sean Murphy, is he the guy that you're zeroing in on here?
I like Sean Murphy a lot. I don't know if I actually have enough money to get to him. But I'm playing Higgs, man. New York in Florida, lefty righty. This guy has some pop, man. I'm in. Let's go. He's cheap.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with him. I need to look. I think there is some pinch hit risk with him usually. 33% pinch hit risk, which is high, but this is a really good spot. Like we're going to talk about it a bunch. I think the Yankees are the best offense on the slate. Like they're in Dunedin. It is what should be a good hitter's park. We don't have a lot of data yet, but should be a good hitter's park. Good hitting weather. Robbie Ray is obviously Robbie Ray. He can blow up at any time. It's his first start of the year. So there could be some rust for him to knock off. Obviously a lefty with a wide-ish platoon split. And so you can certainly attack him with the righties. You can steal on him. Not like I necessarily expect the catcher to do it, but like there's a lot of reasons to like the Yankees in general today. They project for the most runs scored. Higashioka is totally fine in my book. Catcher though, like catcher sucks. You can play any cheap catcher and probably be fine today. Like who else is on my radar?
Alex Johnson or Jackson.
Alex Johnson. Yep, Alex Jackson. Totally fine. I think Atlanta is actually potentially a sneaky stack today. I don't know how many people are going to want to stack against Alcantara, but there's good hitting weather there today. Park downgrade for Alcantara. Atlanta is basically an elite National League offense. So 2-3 for Jackson, I think is good. Wilson Ramos he's against Greinke, but like Ramos is just on a tear to start this year. And he's always been a better hitter than people think he is. Like he's one of the better hitting catchers in the league, and he's too cheap for what his talent level is. His power matches up well with this park, and the roof is open. The roof is open, and it's like 80 something degrees there today. So like it's good hitting weather in this spot, especially in GPPs. Like nobody's going to want to play a guy against Greinke, but Ramos, I think, is actually one of the better hitting catchers on this slate. So I think Ramos is good. I think Stephen Vogt in this Arizona game, like if you can't get up to Murphy on the other side, Vogt, against Bassett is fine. The roof is going to be, I believe, open there as well. This is all these Diamondbacks bats and even the A's too. Like they're kind of underpriced today.
Yeah, Alex Jackson, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Alex Jackson's somebody that, like, if I'm in a punt, it's probably him. Like if I'm trying to get up, if I'm like one position short of like making my lineup work, I think Alex Jackson, big time raw power guy in AAA. You know, we obviously didn't see much of him last year, but top 10 prospect and a very talented Braves, prospect organization. I don't really have much else to add. I was just kind of the only other guy like that I don't hate. We kind of briefly talked about Sean Murphy, but I just wanted to pick him up one more time. He is a guy that has some power. Bumgarner just doesn't have it anymore. But he doesn't, man. Like we all get there. We don't have it anymore, but well, they all get there. We're old. We sit here and we talk about them. So first base.
I think Bumgarner has like added a mile or two velocity to his fastball so far this year, which is interesting, but I still really I don't think Bumgarner is a good pitcher anymore.
He couldn't even get lefties out last year. And his soft contact against lefties was fine, but man, he was terrible against righties, and maybe he'll prove me wrong. There's been plenty of guys. Joey Votto, not one of those guys, but there's been plenty of guys that prove me wrong. Let's move over to first base. There's a ton of options at first base today. You have guys at the top, you have guys at the bottom, you have guys in the middle. I know we have like Freddie Freeman projected for 16% ownership, but I'll be shocked in most like large field tournaments today if we will see a first baseman over 10% today, because it is just position. There's a million plays that you can look at.
Yeah, first base today is the position that is, I think, the toughest. Like there's no obviously like great play. There's a lot of different ways you can go. I'm actually really surprised to see Freddie as the highest projected owned guy. Like I didn't think people were really going to be thinking about the Braves a lot today. But obviously I do think Freddie is a very good play. I think there are a number of ways you can go at first base. Like I think, Josh Bell at 3.1K today, batting cleanup for the Nationals, first game back. It's not like a great spot. It's a pitcher's park. Gant's not terrible, but that is really cheap for a guy with Bell's talent. Other guys in that range, like Renato Nunez hitting, I liked him more when he was hitting cleanup. 7th against Greinke isn't awesome, but he's cheap. And I mentioned the weather there. Evan White also, cheap in a good home run park. Shohei Ohtani, you can always play Ohtani. If you have a little bit of extra money, but you don't have enough to get all the way up to Freeman, I think Ohtani is good at 4.5K. Over on FanDuel, Matt Olson, we love these athletic bats today. Even though it's lefty, I still think at his price, like he's totally fine. First base is tough today though. Playing a first baseman in whatever team you're stacking is probably a good way to do it.
I just want to make it a point that I love Jared Walsh today. Like even at 4,700 on FanDuel, it's overpaying for him, and I completely understand that. But I love Jared Walsh today. And I also love the fact that like if you want to do like a 2, 3, 4-man Angel stack, you can actually get Ohtani and Walsh into lineups, and I think that's huge. Singer is a guy that struggles against lefties, and Ohtani. Mike Trout's just good against everybody. He's the best hitter in baseball. So it doesn't matter lefty righty for him. But I think Freddie Freeman being the highest owned is very interesting. But yeah, just kind of looking here, there's just so many ways that you can get different. Obviously, Hoskins is off the board now, but we have some of these guys. Like we've talked about Oakland already. We're gonna keep talking about Oakland because I love Oakland today. But Matt Olson in a lefty is going to be way less than 8% owned. Maybe he'll be 5% owned because everybody's stacking Oakland, but people hate putting lefties in there. And if you're not expecting Bumgarner to go deep, you're going to get a lot of mix out of the Arizona bullpen anyway. So throw Matt Olson in your stack as well. Darren Ruff should be in the lineup. You can use him at first base or outfield, probably more outfield than first base. And then Vogelbach, if you want to go all the way down, you can go Vogelbach, or you can go Rowdy Tellez if you want to against Garrett Cole.
I was going to say it. I really don't hate Rowdy Tellez today. He actually projects as one of the highest point per dollar guys today. Like this, between this park and this weather, and he's got the platoon advantage. Cole can give up homers to lefties at times. So I really don't hate Tellez as like a super low owned, guy with a home run upside.
He's the type of guy you play against, Garrett Cole. He's going to strike out or hit a home run.
Yeah.
He's not going to hit a single to the center field. Like, that's the type of guy you play against, Garrett Cole. Moving on to second base, moving along so we can get some of these questions as well. Second base is an interesting position. I already know what you want to talk about, so I'm just going to let you.
I don't want to.
You do want to talk about it. You have
obligated to.
You've kind of talked me into potentially playing him. So let's hear your thoughts here on second base.
I hate Rougned Odor, like so much. I hate playing Rougned Odor, but the BATX, thinks he's an okay hitter relative to what he's normally priced at. The Yankees are the best offense today. Everyone knows the Yankees are the best offense today. Everyone's going to want to try to get some Yankees into their lineup. Odor is 2.9K. Like, it's lefty, so people aren't going to want to play him. I don't want to play him, but it's still this good park. It's still this good weather. Robbie Ray can still give up home runs, even to lefties. Robbie Ray is very easy to steal on, so if Odor takes a walk, you could see him steal a base or something like that. And he's so cheap. He's an all or nothing kind of guy. He's not going to, get 3 singles and score a couple runs. He's going to, he's going to take a walk, or he's going to strike out a bunch of times, or he's going to hit a home run. But it is the Yankees. There's a lot of RBI and run potential. So I don't hate it. And even though it's lefty with Ray, this is Ray's first start of the year. He's not going to have a long leash. He threw, I think, 63 pitches in a simulated game a few days ago. So he's going to throw like 80 pitches here. We're going to get a bunch of bullpen behind him in this great hitting environment. So I hate Odor. I hate the bat for continually liking Odor, but it makes sense. Like, if we love the Yankees today, why don't we love a 2.9K hitter on their team?
Yeah, I was messing around with it too. And like when you were talking about it, and like I was able to upgrade shortstop to Torres with Odor. So like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it. The other thing about Robbie Ray too is he walks so many people, and his pitch count he might only throw like 3 innings in this game.
Yeah.
And then like, all right, Odor might only face Robbie Ray one time. Like, where Odor is hitting in the lineup, they're on the road. There's a good chance he gets 4 at bats. I'm in. 2,900 for a second baseman. If we are paying up, there's not a ton of options. DJ LeMahieu is your pay up option, in my opinion, or Altuve. But outside of that, like, second base is kind of a wasteland at the top today, and that's what makes Odor super interesting.
That's exactly it. Like, if you want to pay up for Altuve or LeMahieu, that's awesome, but they're both really expensive. So like, it's not easy to do that. So I think going all the way down to Odor, as much as I hate it, is totally fine. There are other guys you can play. Van Meter in this Chase Field game at 2.7, I think is a fine punt. Escobar at 3.7, I think is fine. Ozzie Albies in your Brave stacks, but second base is not a good position today. So take a shot on the home run potential of Odor, I guess.
Yeah, like, and you can make a Yankees bottom end stack with all the cheap guys and get like a top end Oakland or a top end Angels or a top end Houston stack just to make your Yankees stack different on this slate as well. So I like it. Man, Matt Carpenter is trash, but so is Fed, and Matt Carpenter is 3,200. Like, if you don't want to play Odor, I think you can potentially take a shot on Matt Carpenter. Escobar is someone I think is okay. Jed Lowry is okay. I think second base is a position I'm saving money on most lineups tonight, though. I don't think I'm spending up a lot on second base. So let's go over to third base. Third base is interesting because there's 2 guys that I really like at third base today. Obviously Matt Chapman, but I love Kyle Seager too. Kyle Seager is hitting the ball very, very hard every time he hits the ball right now. And it's really just going to come down to, am I okay playing a hitter on a game that Roth currently has as orange? And I'm definitely going to be watching Crunch Time after this to figure out whether it's going to be Seager or Chapman for me. I'm playing one of these 2 guys. I play single entry. I'm playing one of these 2 guys.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Like, I think the Seattle, even as like a vomit stack, I think is fine today. Chapman's the guy that I really want in cash. I think he's the best value play on the slate, the best combination of like value and raw points against Bumgarner and Chase. Like, I think that's great. if you have the money to spend up, LeMahieu's eligible here. Alex Bregman, I think, is a really good play today with the roof open in Houston. You know, I think Houston in general, we're going to like a lot of their hitters today. So Bregman's definitely part of that. I think that some of the cheaper Marlins are really interesting today. I think as a stack, they make a lot of sense. I think as just cheap one-offs to make stuff work, I think they're fine. Especially if we think is going to have that longer leash. We're going to see more of him as a traditional starter than like bullpen. Given the park upgrade for them here, given the good hitting weather, I think a guy like Brian Anderson at 3.6K, I think he is really appealing, at third base. There's going to be some other guys from this team that I like, but I think he's really interesting.
Yeah, like if you want to go to the top end, obviously you got Jose Ramirez up there. I don't hate that. Nolan Arenado, Fed's not going to throw the ball by anybody. Those guys are interesting to get off of Bregman if you want to go all the way to the top. Don't hate Moustakas. Like third base is a pretty good position today to home run chase. Longoria too. We talked about San Francisco. That lineup just came out. Longoria is batting fourth, and they went very right-handed heavy. Like I have zero interest in Wade Miley. They went Slater, Solano, Ruff, Longoria, Flores, Posey, very right-handed heavy Giants lineup. And I think Longoria is still a good hitter, just kind of out there in San Francisco, and we kind of forgot about him a little bit. So anything else here for third base? Are we ready to continue to move on?
There's this little known guy. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Rougned Odor. He qualifies at third base also. So you can play him there if you want, but you should probably just play him at second instead.
You should probably play Chapman at third and Odor at second.
That's the move.
Let's talk shortstop. I already said that, putting Odor in opens up Torres. So I think people know that I like Torres. I think, he's a top end play. Shortstop is such a position that if you don't get one of the top guys, you usually just go all the way down, in my opinion, because you're just chasing home runs and stolen bases at the top or just punting.
Yep. I totally agree. I think Torres is clearly the top option today, hitting cleanup for the best offense on the slate with the platoon advantage. And he's not even overpriced. At 4.5K, he's probably the easiest guy to just say, yep, did this a lock button guy today. I don't see any reason to do anything else in cash games. In your stacks, in GPPs to get different, plenty of stuff you can do. Elvis Andrus is 3.1K. We mentioned liking Oakland. That's a really nice price for him. Nick Ahmed at 3.3 on the other side, I think is fine. Jazz Chisholm at 3.3. If, you want to fill out your shortstop spot in a Marlin stack, I think he's fine. Swanson in your Brave stacks, but it's clearly Torres as the top raw guy.
Yeah. What is it? Dubon, he's in the lineup batting seventh. He should have some RBI potential there. But he's not a guy that you're going to home run chase. I think if you're paying down, it's probably Andrus because you're probably going to have a couple Oakland bats in your lineup anyway, unless you're fading Oakland, and then you can definitely go elsewhere. But, for the most part, I think this is a position that you want to spend up as much as you can because there are just so many good plays at the top on the slate. And Lindor being off the slate now too, probably even puts more ownership on Correa and Torres. But I don't hate it. I think both of those guys are guys you're looking at, but I feel like the more we start talking, the less we talk about Washington, and Trey Turner is just a guy that he can put up points in bunches by doubles, triples, stolen bases, and it's a good matchup against Gant.
Yeah. I'm fine with, with Trey to be different if we think he's going to come in a lot lower owned than these other guys.
Outfield, a lot of plays at outfield. Obviously, we've already talked about Houston a lot, but this is where, you're wanting a lot of Houston bats because Alvarez, Brantley, Tucker, a lot of the Houston power lefties are outfielders. And then you got Mike Trout, who we have Mike Trout projected at 3% ownership today. And anytime that you're going to get the best hitter in baseball under 10%, I think you have to be interested in tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, I love Mike Trout. There's most days he will project as one of, if not the top outfielder on the slate. He's expensive today. The bat likes him a little less than normal, but I still think, in GPPs, if he's going to be, almost unowned, I think that's fine.
Oh, man, there's so many outfield plays. Derek, just kind of give me a brief overlay of just what you're looking at here for outfield, because there's so many.
Yeah, I think we can kind of group them together. Like we have these Astros outfielders. We have Alvarez, we have Tucker. They're both amazing plays with the roof open, with the platoon advantage. It's annoying they're hitting Tucker 7th, but he's still a good play despite that. You have the Oakland guys. You have like Ramon Laureano and Mark Canha. Probably hitting 1st and 2nd tonight, both platoon advantage against Bumgarner, both in this Chase Field spot we've talked so much about. We mentioned Ohtani earlier, like he's eligible in the outfield. I think some of these, Mariners and Marlins guys are viable cheap punts or as part of stacks, guys like Garrett Cooper, guys like Mitch Haniger. The Diamondbacks on the other side of that Arizona game, like Cole Calhoun is maybe the best hitter on that whole offense now that Ketel Marte is out, and he's, what does he cost? Scrolling down, I still don't see him. 3.4K, like that's really, really cheap for him. Obviously Yankees, especially on FanDuel where you have a little more salary space, like Giancarlo Stanton over there is close to a must play. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like at outfield tonight.
Yeah, even on Super Draft, you're not getting like a huge like multiplier on the Yankees, but I think you definitely want to try to get some Yankees in there. Like Stanton's 1.25, and like he's somebody that I think you probably want to try to get in over there. Just kind of looking at it. So make sure, just because like the Yankees are not getting high multipliers over there, that you're not overlooking them if you are playing on Super Draft. One other guy that we mentioned Darren Ruff at first base. I just wanted to throw him out there too. He has a really good lineup spot. And then Mark Canha, he's batting leadoff. That lineup just came out as well. So that lineup is exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is nice. They're throwing a lot of righties in there. Love the upside of the Oakland stack even more. I don't think there's much more to add as far as outfielders. If you guys have any questions on outfielders, we're going to start getting into questions now. So feel free to hit us up with any kind of questions that you have. This question's always fun. Can Joe Mauer hit 2 home runs tonight? No, I don't think Joe Mauer could hit 2 home runs ever. Do you have any bets? I know you don't look at that kind of stuff. I haven't even had a chance to look at it today as well. Looking really quick. I really liked the Cincinnati money line last night when I did the podcast. I still don't hate that one, but I think like my best bet today, where is that? Is it still, are the Angels still minus like 125? I think that line's ridiculous. That's what it opened at.
I see negative 112, but
that's even better. Take the Angels.
Depend on your book, yeah.
Take the Angels. So yeah, I like the Angels. I think they're minus 118. I think is a joke for the Angels against the Royals today. That's my best bet for the day. Any love for Dunning as a DK cheap SP2? No, don't do it. Right, Derek? Like he had a good outing, but this guy's only supposed to throw like 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah, he's like basically a glorified opener right now. So he is not a guy that I would recommend playing at all, anywhere in any format.
Right when he gets in trouble, they want to bring in the other guy. Right when he gets in trouble. Like he threw a fantastic 5-inning outing last time out. Don't get stuck in that trap. Until like they say, like there's no more opener situation with him, I don't think you can do it. This question's for you, Cardi. Can I stack Seattle and Detroit to go with the 2 studs?
I mean, I don't know if I'd love stacking Seattle and Detroit in like the same lineup because they're both pretty bad, but I think you can make a case for stacking either one individually. Like I know Detroit projects as one of the best like point per dollar teams today. The upside on both of these teams is going to be a little less than you probably want, but I don't hate them as like a vomit stack if you are able to afford other better things, even if they're chalkier things, because I don't think a lot of people are going to own either of these teams.
I probably wouldn't, but I completely understand. I don't mind the Seattle side. I don't like the Detroit side of that, but I don't mind the Seattle side. There's so many cheap bats that like are in good spots. Like you could stack the bottom of the Yankees order and get 2 stud pitchers. And I like that even more. And like, I'm not telling you to stack the Yankees bottom of the order, but if you're trying to get like two top end pitchers, I think that's something that you got to potentially look at.
If I'm going to stack a bad offense today, I think it's going to be the Marlins. I think they have more upside than a team like Detroit or whoever Seattle does.
Seattle, you got to worry about weather too. Make sure you guys are checking out Crunch Time after this. Let Kevin Roth tell us about that game. Definitely going to be paying attention to that. James Smith, I agree with you. I appreciate the kind words. Hit the dang button. Were there any rumors that Rodon got scratched? I haven't seen anything that he could get scratched.
I haven't seen anything either.
All right, so we'll go with that. Any interest on FanDuel and Molina hitting 4th?
Not on FanDuel this is Yadi Molina, I think, is hitting 4th today. Like, you don't even have to play a catcher on FanDuel, and especially with how soft their pricing is, like, you don't need to mess around with a guy like that. Not in a great spot, not at a position you even have to roster. Not a good hitter in terms of like the whole pool of major league hitters. No, don't do it.
I'm not using, most of the time I'm never going to use a catcher where I can use a first baseman. Hardly ever.
Yeah, like there's times where you can do it to be different, or where you have like a good hitting catcher, like you're stacking Yankees and you're playing Gary Sanchez or something like that. But Yadi Molina is not the guy to do it with, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. No Alex Cobb love. I like the Angels, but I don't like Alex Cobb.
It's a shame what happened to Alex Cobb. Like, I thought he was going to be really good when he was coming up, when he was with the Rays, but he's just not anymore. You can't do it today, not in this spot.
Yeah, like, I don't know. The lineup, the Royals lineup doesn't like super concern me, but overall, I don't like the spot for him. There's just guys with more strikeout upside. We sort of talked about Jose Ramirez. Do you have any interest in Jose Ramirez?
Not really. I mean, he's been in some good spots this year, and I know he's done well so far, but this is not like an amazing spot for him, at least for what he's priced at. Rodon can give up homers, Rodon can give up steals, so there is upside, but 5.7 for him is just it's a little too much for me.
Okay, so we just got in so Rodon is scratch, illness. Dallas Keuchel will start. I guess we'll talk about that really quick. I think you're definitely not playing Keuchel in this spot. Does that open up any of the Cleveland bats for you here? They shouldn't change the lineup. It's still a lefty.
It probably doesn't change a whole lot because they're both lefties. They both have above average platoon splits. They're both, comparably talented, even if their skill sets are different, like in terms of the overall quality, they're not that different. So it probably doesn't change a whole lot for me. The other thing to note is that Rodon is very easy to steal on, and Keuchel is very difficult to steal on. So it actually is much worse in terms of the stolen base potential. But ultimately, I wasn't super interested in either side of it before, probably not super interested in either side of it now.
It's kind of where I'm at. Okay, so if you want to play Franmil Reyes or Luplow as like cheaper options, I think they're really cheap on FanDuel. I don't know what their prices are on DraftKings, but sure. I'm not going to talk you off of it. Frazier or Odor with the Yankee stacks on your FanDuel utility?
Yeah, it's probably Odor. I hate it, but it's probably Odor.
Flip a coin. Best advice I can give you. Flip a coin. Yeah, it's who's not going to get pinch hit for?
Who's not going to get pinch hit for?
Yeah, who's going to play the whole game? Wouldn't that give like a higher probability to Odor?
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're starting them lefties, so you would imagine there's very little chance they're going to pinch hit for Odor.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Thoughts on Sandy Alcantara regression coming for him, or is he in play for tournaments?
I'm not big on him. Like I'd rather stack the Braves against him, honestly. there's definitely going to be some regression coming for him. And this is a very difficult spot. Like, it's a park downgrade. It's an elite opposing offense. It's good hitting weather. And I don't think he's quite as good as, he's actually been this year. So I don't have a ton of interest, and he's expensive.
Yeah, the price is, I said this in the morning, but the price is more than the thing than anything else. If Alcantara was 7,200, we would definitely be considering
have
it
interest.
way more. Has San Francisco changed the park back to 2019 standards, aka blocking the opening or all that stuff? Do you know?
Yeah, so I looked into it before the season. They said they were going to keep it with it blocked to start the year, and they might change it at some point. I haven't had a chance to look since the season started. I wouldn't think they would have changed it, this soon. So it's probably still blocked.
Any interest in Bassett on DK if you're fading the Oakland sack?
Probably not. Probably not. I just think there's better options.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If you were to play one Yankee outfielder, would it be who? Assuming that price isn't.
It's really like flip a coin, but I think on the best price is going to be Stanton on FanDuel, I think.
Yeah. I think it's Stanton.
Like him
too.
and Judge project almost identically, and Stanton is 500 cheaper on FanDuel.
Yep. 3,600 over there on FanDuel. Let's see. What has a better chance of happening? Kevin King getting a pick six or Odor hitting a home run off of Robbie Ray?
I really hope it's Odor, guys. I really do.
Stanton or DJ is the last piece in a Yankee stack on FanDuel.
It's Stanton for sure. Like, Stanton's the better hitter. Stanton has more upside.
Michael Bergman is Cole. Higgs, D shit too much as a stack for? I don't understand this question. I'm skipping it. DK Cash, Kana or Tucker?
I mean, they project so close. I think like the Bats' number 1 and 2 optimal lineups is just like swapping those two. Flip a coin. They're both great plays.
I'm gonna say Kana just because he's batting higher up in the lineup. Tucker's batting 7th, but I think they're both great plays today. So the question is Cole, Higgs, DJ, Ursula, Torres too much of a stack on FanDuel?
No, there's no such thing as too much of a stack. You should be maxing out your stacks. If FanDuel lets you do 4 guys, you should have 4 guys.
Home run call of the day. You gotta have a home run call of the day.
The Bats' favorite guy is Stanton, followed closely by Alvarez.
My home run of the day would probably be Jared Walsh. Again, I know I'm overpaying for him on DK. Don't care. I think he's going yard today. Any love for a Washington stack?
It's not a great spot for them. And they're not like outside of Bell, especially well priced. You can do it. But I don't love them.
I think they're maybe 5th or 6th today as far as stacks go.
Yeah. If they're going to be really low owned, I think that's more the case for them than anything else. If you don't think anyone's going to have them.
Just checking really quick to see if we have a weather update from Kevin Roth or not. Next question is any love for Sheffield in a large tournament? That's why I was trying to see if he had given us an update. So at 5:30, this game is orange yellow still. I don't know, man. I don't think I risk it with so many pitchers on this slate, and I think Sheffield's okay on this slate, but I don't think I risk it with the weather.
Yeah, I had interest in the pitchers in that Mets game that's rained out, I guess. So that puts Sheffield a little bit more in play for me. I don't think there's as many of those guys to pivot onto if you're not playing Sheffield. I don't mind risking it in a GPP. Just know it could get rained out and you could get 0, but I do think he's a viable option on this slate.
Any interest in Van Meter on FanDuel minimum salary at second base?
As a punt play, sure. We like that team.
Yeah.
It's a good spot. He's free. You don't need that salary savings as much on FanDuel because of how soft their pricing is, but he's fine.
Yeah, maybe they're going glass now and they're trying to pay up at a couple spots. But yeah, I don't think Van Meter's a bad play either. I'm with you on that. Favorite cheap SP2 on DK for tournaments?
Yeah, so I think the guys that I would have interest in would be Gant, Kramer, Inoa, and Sheffield. And Bumgarner's not cheap, but he's like not expensive either. Like I think you can put him in that mix.
Don't do it. When did you become the Bumgarner guy?
I'm not a Bumgarner guy. I don't like it, but like he projects well enough for the salary and for the ownership, and you get some leverage off of what is probably going to be fairly chalky Oakland stacks. Like I don't hate it from a game theory perspective.
Yeah, but there's so many stacks you can stack instead of Oakland to get, I don't know. Go for it, Derek.
I don't like being the Bumgarner guy, but I think there's enough of a chance for him where at 4% ownership or something, like you can take a shot.
Could we roll with Edman, Arenado, and Goldie on GPPs on FanDuel for upside?
I'm not huge on them today. I mean, you can, I guess. You can, but I don't love them.
All right, rapid fire. We have 2 minutes before we get out of here. Stanton or Judge? We kind of already touched on that one. I think Stanton, right? Biggio against Cole at all?
No, Tellez if anybody. I think.
Any love for Alizé with no Yelich?
His leash is probably too short for me.
Favorite sneaky stack for small size GPPs?
Marlins.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. Don't forget, everyone, get yourself 5 days of RG MLB Premium for $5. Deal ends April 13th. Take advantage of that. Rotogrinders.com/premium. You'll be able to get Kevin Ross' thoughts right now on Crunch Time for the Seattle-Baltimore game. I think it actually matters a lot because I do think Seattle is a very interesting low-end stack that we just got asked the question for. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Make sure you guys are checking out the bat and Super Draft. That's going to wrap it up here for Monday. We'll be back Tuesday. Make sure you guys are checking out Crunch Time, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.